Murray Newlands, you are a video host and reporter for performancemarketinginsider.com and an expert at brands. Tell me about people's trust of brands in social media, how it is today versus over the last 50 years.
So there was the old way of doing it, which was in, say, the days of Mad Men. You had brands, they created their message, they created their advertising, they pushed that out through printed media, on banners, in the TV. And now as social media has evolved, we trust brands less because they actually didn't always tell us the truth there. Now with social media, if a brand's messaging is inconsistent, then that will be shared. But also because we're sharing so much more about brands, about what you feel about brands, we actually trust each other's messaging much more, and brands are actually made by the conversations that happen about them within social media by the consumers of those brands. And the best brands which are engaging with their brand and actually developing that are taking the best messages, the best communications by their fans, by people who like their products, and sharing that back with their user base. And actually that's what's creating their brand and helping to make them personable, help people feel engaged with them, and actually bring back trust to brands.
There's a missing link of trust between brands and people, and perhaps brands and presidential campaigns.
Right.
How does social media fill that gap, and what are you doing actively in that space?
Well, I mean, a really interesting scenario is the one we've just seen with texting Hillary. She had her own brand, she's been developing it. Maybe she was being seen as a sort of elderly stateswoman within politics, and this really brought her brand back to life. So it was very shareable. Photos are very shareable on, as we know, on Facebook. Because it was a kind of photo meme, it carried a long way. It was very shareable on Twitter and on Facebook. That changed the whole perception of her as a brand. So I think that social media, once again, is going to be crucially important to the election campaigns. And they're actually launching a site, US Voter News, to engage US voters within that process. And we're looking at what content we can develop, how that's going to be shared through social media, and what people really want to engage with. One of the really interesting things that you can see within social media is if you look at the Facebook profiles of, say, Obama, the White House, Ron Paul, Romney, you can actually look at what types of messages they're putting out and what's being shared and what's getting tweeted. And I was looking at the Republican candidates, and the ones who were having more conversation, sharing better content on their Facebook walls, were the ones who are being more successful because they were getting the take up. So it's really understanding what your audience, what your fan base want to engage with, how to get them to share that, and finding content that they want to create, sharing that within your Facebook fan page, for example, and actually really getting that engagement, and that drives a virality. And brands can do that just as well as politics, but if you get it right, it will work really well, and if you don't, you just won't get the same audience.